Greenfield, Indiana was founded in 1828. It owes much of its character to the old National Road, which passed in front of the Hancock County Courthouse, and to the late 19th century gas boom, which brought wealth and industry. Today, its proximity to Indianapolis and highways fuel its continued growth. The heart of Greenfield's downtown is the Courthouse Square National Register Historic District. Massive public buildings and churches, ornate Victorian homes, and 19th century storefronts line US 40 and Indiana 9. This town center has suffered losses from fires and disasters, but the Courthouse Square still has beautiful structures that are both historic and useful. 10 of these are briefly highlighted in our presentation. Former Mayor Keith McLernan shares his memories with us today. Rosalie Richardson is known for giving walking tours of the downtown area as well as being a county councilwoman. And Tom Strickland gives some reminiscences of his father, Robert Strickland. Bob Strickland is a former president of Greenfield Banking Company and a former city councilman.
Imagine with me a large pond of water near the center of town in the city of Greenfield, where travelers would stop to water their horses. The buildings being built at that time as the town had begun to come to life. The huge pieces of granite and limestone being cut and hoisted to build these buildings of the center focal point of Greenfield on the Courthouse Square. Can you imagine it being built? All the people it took, the manpower, the horsepower, the scaffolding, the bricklayers, the workers. How many horses were there? They had no tractors or mechanical things. It was done by rope and pulley and a lot of manpower. That was the center of Greenfield and this Courthouse Square.
The Hancock County Courthouse, the fourth to be used by the county, was begun in 1896. Its round Romanesque arches and towers are Indiana limestone, and the interior reflects Gothic cathedrals of Europe. Architects Wing and Mahurin of Fort Wayne used carved decorations of stone or plaster, often with Christian motifs. Paintings, cherubs, fleurs-de-lis, and Greek keys ornament the little altered interior spaces.
One of my dad's favorite reminiscences of the county courthouse is as a teenager sitting on the curbing of the square. We would sit on Main or State Street and spit and talk and have a heck of a good time, thinking we were old-timers there on the Courthouse Square. If we leave the courthouse by the south doors, we see the D.H. Goebel House of 1900, which faces the Courthouse Plaza. Its extensive porches provided outdoor living space during summer heat. Crested gables and classical porch columns accent the large home, which has had professional offices on the first floor for much of its life.
Saturday was a major shopping day when the farmers and their families would come to Greenfield to shop and to buy groceries and clothing. Many of the farmers retired to Greenfield, like my grandfather, Robert. But Saturdays was the day when people would come to downtown Greenfield, and the kids would go to the 10-cent movie. The old Why Not, which was a theater on the Courthouse Square, is not far from where the Goebel House was. And on the southeast corner of the Courthouse Square is the 1871 jail, the residence in the front and the prisoners and cells in the rear. The brick structure is trimmed with stone loins and has a mansard roof, a second Empire copy of fashionable Parisian building of the era. That building still stands and is now housed the Hancock County Prosecutor's Office. One of the early jails is now in Riley Park as a museum. It's called the Old Log Jail, and iron nails were pounded into the upstairs log walls to prevent prisoners from thinking they could saw through and escape.
2 blocks north of the 1871 jail, the Greenfield Christian Church was also constructed in 1895 during the gas boom days. Brick walls are trimmed with stone bands and stone arches, enclosing large areas of stained glass. Whether Greenfield's glass factories contributed to the windows of area churches is unknown. A bell tower and steeply pitched roof show European influence. Interior furniture and appointments are of oak.
The current parking lot of the Christian Church on the corner of Main and East Street once housed a brick structure that was known as the Star Store, and it was owned and run by Simon Coyne. The store had several fires, and he would hold a fire sale about annually. The day after one of the fires, Simon's wife, Minnie, was walking to the store and saw 2 well-dressed men get off the interurban. "Oh my goodness," she said, "the adjusters are here so soon." only to find that they were two attorneys who had come to do work at Hancock County Courthouse. On the northwest corner of State and Main is a Masonic temple built in 1895 and another limestone Romanesque building. The Masons leased the first floors to a succession of businesses but had their meetings on the third floor. The stained glass windows and the interior murals and the broad and round arched beams accent the large structure of the grand lodge room. Many fraternal organizations built their own buildings in those days.
As a kid, my dad went to Goodman's department store on the first floor of the Masonic building and rode the elevator until a custodian chased him out. The store provided dry goods, clothing, and other items for farm and town families. Bradley United Methodist Church is another limestone building with Richardsonian Romanesque architecture. Constructed in 1902, its broad arches and stone carvings echo the courthouse, but in a shorter, more massive structure. Large amounts of stained glass illuminate the theater-style sanctuary. A limestone addition on the west complements the old structure.
The interurban went through the center of Greenfield on the old National Road and past the Courthouse Square. It had stopping places, one across from the Bradley Church, one across from Raleigh Park. It was discontinued around 1930.
Leaving the church, there are homes ranging from the 1840s to the turn of the 20th century. One block west is the James Whitcomb Riley home, which was built by Riley's father and incorporated the cabin where the Hoosier poet was born in 1849. The simple Greek Revival style was enhanced with a full-length porch in the 1870s. Now a museum with furnishings from the time of Riley's boyhood, it is open to the public except in the winter months. Upstairs is a cubbyhole and press, which became part of the Little Orphan Annie poem. Riley's old swimming hole is on Brandywine Creek, east of downtown.
My father remembered his parents, Richard and Madge, working to get the Riley home ready for the public. They also gave several pieces of furniture to be exhibited. The city bought the home after Julia Riley, Riley's sister-in-law, left for California in 1937.
On the corner of North and Pennsylvania Streets, the Andrew Banks house began about 1840 as a small brick building and was remodeled into an outstanding Queen Anne home with a bandstand porch and numerous decorative elements. Descendants of Andrew Banks have owned this property from the mid-19th century until now.
My dad delivered groceries to Dale B. Spencer's grandmother at this house. She was quite a cook. It was the first time he ever saw 2 or 3 ovens in one kitchen. She was always cooking. She had hardwood floors in her kitchen, and that was an impressive thing to a 15-year-old delivering for the family grocery, which was started by his grandfather, Harry Strickland, in 1893.
Going east on North Street, the Carnegie Library building has a neoclassical roofline and pilasters. Built in 1908-1909, it shows the return to simpler, functional buildings in the 20th century. One of many libraries built in Indiana by Andrew Carnegie, it now houses an elegant restaurant.
Vernie Baldwin was a librarian. She was one of the 3 Baldwin sisters who lived west of Riley School. Dad had a classmate who had severe acne, and Vernie would not allow him to check out a library book because of his complexion. T. New was another librarian and about as opposite to Vernie as could be. Across North Street from the library, local architect John Felt designed the old city building. A horse-drawn fire engine and fire department were on the first floor, with city offices upstairs. The brick facade, like many local buildings, is accented with broad arches. The cornice and trim advertise its name and construction date of 1895.
We want to take this time to thank you for going on our little walking tour of historic downtown Greenfield with us. For our narrators, former Mayor Keith McLernan, Rosalie Richardson, and Tom Strickland, I'm Tim Renshaw.